to this week's #Finance Friday. This month we have been talking all about budgeting. We've been talking about what it is, some tools that we can look at. And last week we had an awesome conversation with Marita Opperman, and she shared all around personal budgets and the impact that it has made on her life, just in terms of following a budget from her personal capacity, despite her being an accountant. And sometimes we are the worst of the lot. But nevertheless, today we are not talking about personal budgets, we are talking about business budgets. And for that specific topic, I have called in a favor and I have asked Annece Olivier to come join us today. She is a business rescue practitioner, and we are going to be talking about business budgets today and how it can help to save your business in its entirety. So Anneke, super grateful to have you here. Go ahead if you would like to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Annece Olivier. I am owner of Bendels Consulting. We are a disability tax firm. I'm also a business rescue practitioner, registered with SARIPA, and also under cyber, and also accredited there. And yeah, so I'm happy. Yeah, we normally just work on taxes, so it's quite fun to actually delve into this with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. Anneke, just in terms of how you have experienced budgets and the importance thereof, would you maybe like to share from your perspective what you think some of the benefits of having a budget in your business would be?
So I do absolutely believe that a budget would be make or break for any business. And I think a lot of people also underestimate it. And this would be from a small new business. They think, oh, I'm just winging it, there's money in the bank, I'm fine. And also bigger companies that's like, oh, no, we're paying our expenses, we're fine.
Yeah.
They absolutely underestimate the value of a budget in those circumstances. So even though you feel you're covering all the bases, budgeting can be a powerful tool to actually help you just actually be more profitable, more successful. So sometimes budgeting is connected to this very negative idea of, I'm on a budget, I'm in trouble, I'm doing this because I can't. It's not always the case. Sometimes a budget is absolutely valuable to just be more profitable. See, why am I different to my budget and how can I actually improve my business? So I do really think it's really important, and especially if you're looking at a business that's wanting to grow, that budget is going to be very important to be able to help you monitor when you need to do certain steps. For example, when do I need to add a new employee? You need that budget to forecast also, when will this fit in? Will it be cost efficient? Will I be able to cover it? And so it's absolutely crucial.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. And I think at the end of the day, if we don't plan for these things, you're not planning for your growth at the end of the day. So we need to make sure that we've got those plans in place. I often say that we dream big and we've got all of these big plans for our business, but we don't always attach the financial implication thereof. So that means that those dreams and goals that you might have, you don't actually achieve.
Yeah, and failing to plan is what?
Planning to fail.
Planning to fail, there we go. So no, it's absolutely important. And like you also said, it's also your way to measure your success. Because in this budget, you're going to say for the next 12 months, this is what I think is going to happen. And now on a monthly basis, you can actually see, okay, what happened? And you can go and at the end of the month, pat yourself on the back and say, well, good job. Or you can be like, oh my gosh, what just happened? And you've only lost a month, So next month you can do better. Instead of 10 months down the line, have a bigger problem on your hands.
You're starting to touch on a point which I think is very important, and it's about tracking your budget. It's about not just having that budget, but it's actually about using it, because failure to do that can actually have some really negative consequences in our business. Do you maybe just want to talk to that question, to say what happens if we don't budget correctly, and what happens when we don't budget, when we don't use our budget?
So when you don't use your budget, or if you don't use it properly, even, because a lot of software just automatically puts a budget there for you and you can say, oh, I've got it. But if you're not actually using it, it really means nothing. So not using it can be, especially if you take a simple example, like in a sales-driven company, you need to have that budget to ensure that you have that sweet spot of sales that covers your overheads. Then obviously you don't want to just cover your overheads monthly. You want the next step of, okay, this is profit, this is for growth, and so on. So you are now able to go back to your sales staff and say, this is your target. And this is because you have that budget. So now you get to a point where, okay, I want to rent a warehouse. This is how much my storage costs. And this is what it will cost with a warehouse. This is the additional sales we need to make. And then month to month, you can actually monitor this, and you can go back to your staff and be like, we didn't hit the target. This is the shortfall. And that really just enables you to just take it step for step and adjust every month, also not, yes, you're going to hit and miss as you go along, but you just have the power of adjusting quickly if you're keeping track of your budget.
Absolutely. And maybe just in terms of your experience as a business rescue practitioner, I'm sure budgeting plays a really important role. And sometimes a business that doesn't have a budget could almost be an indicator of one that is going to need to head into that direction, like it actually needs some sort of turnaround procedures to be able to save it. Can you maybe tell us about just this whole business rescue process? Like, what is it? Why is it important? And also what some of the warning signs are that our business owners need to look out for.
Okay, sure. So I can firstly say a lot of the businesses that become distressed, you would often, especially in the small to medium companies or business owner-run companies, family-run companies, you'll find that they don't really use a budget. It is really that principle of there's money in the bank, cool, we paid salaries, we're good. Yeah. And it's normally them that become distressed. And there's a lot of things that they don't factor in, which a budget would have helped with. For example, you often, and a lot of accountants will recognize this line from a client, would be that, why do we have such a big profit, but I have no money in the bank? It's like, okay, because you have 6 cars on HB for you, your wife, and your kids, and for this one and this one. That's not on your income statement, but it does char your cash. So had they had a budget and a cash flow projection, that would have been sort of solved. So that is often the case, because you think that the money is in the bank, you're fine, but you're not. You get to a point where you need to pay provisional tax, you need to pay VAT, you need to pay income tax, and then suddenly you're quite shocked at the outcome of it.
Absolutely.
Now, when looking for signs for a distressed company, a lot of people think that business rescue is for a company that's at that point where, oh gosh, I can't pay anything, we're stuffed, this is the end. Really, when you're there, it might be too late. So people think that you need to get there. Absolutely not. If you look at a lot of the most successful business rescues, it's ones where it was identified early. So if you look at warning signs would be struggling to pay employees, struggling to pay all your tax obligations, any expense that you're struggling to cover in the ordinary course of business, any short-term accounts that you're missing payments on, those are all signs. And I would almost say the first month or two that you've been struggling to make these payments, absolutely contact a business rescue practitioner. They will do an assessment. It might be a situation where we're not that far in. We just need to put a plan in place, and that plan is normally a budget. And you'll take it from there. The thing is also, the earlier you're on the rescue, the bigger your chances are of getting post-commencement finance. Just get that little bit of cash flow to just boost you over the hill, and you'll be fine. Yeah. Whereas if you wait too long, all accounts are depleted, the owners are most likely depleted, and then you're really, really in a difficult position.
Yeah, that makes sense. You sort of started to touch on something that I just want to highlight. Is you were talking about this plan, right? And I know as part of the business rescue process, you have to make sure that as the business rescue practitioner, you're submitting a plan, like a turnaround plan or whatever it is, within, 10 days or whatever.
Yes.
Just talk to us about that whole process, about putting this plan together, and then exactly how the budget fits into that grander scheme of things.
So we need to submit a business rescue plan, and this is extremely crucial because this plan must be approved by your creditors. So we will be holding a creditors meeting. We explain the plan to them, and they must approve it before you can actually go into business rescue. If they don't approve it, you have an opportunity to change it, come back, or it's just, sorry, we're just not going to do it. We're rather going to liquidate.
Sure.
So this plan it consists of three sections. but I don't think I'm going to get too technical with it. But basically what it is, it's a document that sort of explains the history of the company. Mm-hmm. And as a business rescue practitioner, you need to identify what is the reason that we are in the financial distress that we are now. And you need to set that out. Mm-hmm. Then you need to put into place, what is the plan? So you need to put in a budget into place with the current sales, with the current everything that we have, the possibility of post-commencement finance, mm-hmm. and you actually set up a budget, you set up a cash flow forecast, and you, in that, give a breakdown of any amounts that are owed to creditors and how you plan to pay them back. Mm. And if needed, if they're going to be writing off an amount, how that will come into play. And this must then be, when it's accepted, this is enforced. So everything during the rescue must happen according to this plan. Mm-hmm. And you need to be reporting back to creditors you're accountable for this now. You need to tell them, listen, this was the plan we gave you, and we have been sticking to it. And if at any point, and this is, people actually don't believe this all the time, but if at any point, for example, so during the rescue, the business rescue practitioner becomes the acting director of the company for all practical purposes. And I mean, directors cut off cards, you can't access the bank, you can't access cash. But if they, for example, do something drastic and they go against the plan, they can actually be removed as a director.
Sure.
And that is actually just how extremely important the plan is and the budget that's in the plan, because it's so very specifically planned that if anything happens to derail it, it can actually just make the company not viable to save.
Sure. Yeah. That's really interesting. I was actually having a look at Ster-Kinekor. As we know, they are currently in business rescue, and they actually have a specific tab on their website where they have all of their notices that have been going out to the creditors to let them know they are considering business rescue, and the communication about the delays in terms of when they are going to be presenting this plan. So I think it's such a nice real life example, something that's super accessible to us, that's super relevant and relatable, just to almost like track with their process and to see what's going to be happening. And as you said, there have been some very successful business rescues, some of which maybe includes like ComAir. I know that they went through business rescue a little while ago. And there are some very popular ones. So just to tell our listeners, there is hope. Just because you're going to business rescue, it's the opposite of liquidation, right? We want to be able to save the business through this process. Okay, that's awesome. I think that's really helpful. Okay, cool. So you've given us a lot of guidance in terms of, what the business rescue process looks like, what warning signs we're looking at. If one of our listeners are listening right now and they're like, oh man, I have been struggling to pay my salaries for the last 2 months, or I've been really sweating bullets about my provisional tax payment that's coming up. I've got no idea how I'm going to pay for that. What would be their first step to be able to get this ball rolling?
So the very first step is you need to be looking for a business rescue practitioner in your area. Mm-hmm. And please, I know I always go on about this, but please check credentials. A lot of people are pretending to have suitable qualifications, but there are specific organizations which they belong to, like SARIPA, TMA. Please look into that first, make sure they're legitimate, make sure they have a track record. You will also find there's different levels of tax practitioners. You have seniors, juniors, and so on. Smaller companies won't need the senior. So just make sure that you are on the right level as well, but they will refer you out as needed. And then the process will start with a business evaluation. So just be forward. I know it's very sensitive information, and you don't want to sit and talk about failure. You don't want to sit and talk about, okay, yeah, it's me, I overspent. You don't want to tell someone this, but you have to. Yeah. Absolutely be open, honest, forward. The more information you give them, the more open and honest you are, the better they can help you. So they will be doing a business evaluation, and they will see what the viability of the rescue will be, and if it's maybe necessary to liquidate, and perhaps even not do a business rescue, but just do a turnaround. So there's a few options here, and that will actually just determine everything. And that will be a fantastic first step. And also don't think this is, you going to the principal's office. The Companies Act has put this there to protect companies, to help companies, to save employment opportunities. It's really there to help. It's become this stigma that business rescue is like a bullet to the head. It's not. If it's done properly, if the client works with us and not against us, it can absolutely help you. And what's also a beautiful thing about it is you get training while in rescue. So when the rescue practitioner identifies, well, this is what you've been doing wrong, or this is why stock is going missing, they will teach you. They will learn you new skills. They will teach you how to use different reporting. They'll teach you how to use a budget. And after the rescue, you're going to come out there so much stronger, so much more knowledgeable, and you will just go for it.
Awesome. Well, I think if nothing else, that is a story of hope for everyone that might be in this situation. So if you are feeling like either you or anyone that you know of is maybe in need of this type of service and you would like us to just get involved and have a look at the business evaluation part of it, and let's just see what your options are, then you're welcome to connect with me. I will put you in touch with the right people, and let's go ahead and actually see how we can turn your business from surviving or failing into thriving, because that is our heart at the end of the day. So Anneke, thank you so much for joining us today. It's really great.
Anytime.
Your expertise is really valuable. So thank you for sharing so freely.
It's a pleasure.
Okay, so until next month, when we are talking about process automation, which is one of my favorite things to do, it's about saving time, saving money, putting you first, putting some processes and systems in place. It's going to be fun. So I will see you then. Bye.